This month, only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. Check out our amazing monthly specials. Drive off with your 2019 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4, only $179 a month. Or the 2019 Ram 1500 Bighorn, only $198 a month. The 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, only $199 a month. Or the 2019 Dodge Journey GT all-wheel drive, only $199 a month. That is only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram, only while stocks last. Terms and conditions apply. The Marketplace Connection, brought to you by the Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram.
This is Linda Hunt and the Marketplace Connection. Come and go with us as we visit the 7 cultural mountains where you will receive information that will expand your capacity and upgrade your thinking because God wants to give you more. Join me for the next hour as I connect you to the Marketplace. Well, good morning, my viewing and listening audience out there in Radio Land. This is Linda Hunt and the Marketplace Connection on Worship Radio International. We are so grateful and so thankful to be here again today, and we just welcome you. For those of you that are viewing for the first time, we welcome you, and we thank you, my Saturday morning connectors that get up on Saturday morning, that listen to us every Saturday morning. We just thank God for you. And we thank God for my sponsors before we get started. Northland Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. If you need a new car, a used car, please go by and see my sponsors. This broadcast is brought to you by my faithful sponsors. And so we have a wonderful program that is prepared for you today. We have a very serious topic that I have been really just waiting on someone. And you know how God does when you want something or need something, he sends you exactly what you need. Right. And I have been just waiting on someone that can give me information that I might be able to bring to you regarding the subject of suicide and bullying. Bullying and suicide is so prevalent nowadays, and particularly among our youth. The youth of today are really being inundated with a lot of information and a lot of things that they're open up to that it's requiring a lot more of them today than it did for us years ago. And so because of those things, we have someone that is here today to bring us the information that we believe that can save your children, your grandchildren, our generation. Right. These are our children. We love them and we want to protect them. And so this information, I want you to listen attentively. I want you to tell a neighbor, tell a friend that the Marketplace Connection is on the air today. And we have someone that has been in this particular field, dealing with it, has a passion for it. We thank you, Miss Denise Cochran, for being here today with us.
Thank you.
Yes, we just thank God for you and all that he is using you to do in this area that is so needed.
Yes.
That is so needed today, more so than it has ever been before.
Yes.
And it is so much going on in the world that is causing, depression and suicide and just all of the things that, and particularly for our young people.
Yes.
And we know it is across the board. I believe depression and suicide has just been at an all-time standard, or, the standard of it has been raised more so now than it has ever been before, because people are just under so much pressure and, depression and mental illness and all of those things. So we're going to talk about all of those things. So again, I invite you to tell a neighbor, tell a friend, call some of your grandchildren and, the parents and people that you know, and tell them that the Marketplace Connection is on the air and that we're going to be talking about bullying and suicide. Okay? So we welcome you today, Denise.
Thank you. I'm so so honored to be here. It's such a pleasure to be here, Linda. I just believe what you're doing with the Marketplace Connection is amazing.
Amen.
It's amazing. God is using you.
Thank you so much. And it has just been my heart. The things that the subjects that I tried to bring are subjects that I know that are very needed, that are very dear to my heart. And this has just been something that has just been on my heart. This mental illness.
Yes.
We'll talk about some of those things as well. But this has just really been something that's just been on my heart, because I know that I can just see so many people crying out. Even when I'm on Facebook, so many people crying out, for help, or saying that, that they're, contemplating suicide, or they're depressed, or whatever the case may be. So we just hope that, today, some of the things that we're going to talk about, Denise, we just hope that some of these things will bring some light to that situation.
That's right.
And that people would really be concerned when not only, just about the fact that, people are committing suicide, but just to know that suicide prevention also means when people talk about it, even giving you some kind of hint.
The signs.
The signs of it.
The clues.
Yes. Yes. And so we have to pay attention to those kind of things, and don't think that, just because somebody said, that they want to kill themselves, or, or they're depressed.
That it's nothing. They'll get over it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know we're going to get into it. I have to say that. And a lot of it comes because we're from that generation of don't talk about what's going on in my house, in our house.
Yes.
So we've been taught to sweep things under the rug.
Yeah.
Keep it quiet.
Yes.
So to try and break those practices is hard.
It is.
When it's not recognized.
Right.
By a lot of people as well.
That's
people
right.
don't realize that that's what they do. That's what we've been taught.
Right.
And so we just continue to do it.
Right.
So I get into that a little
Okay.
bit.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about this woman of God and some of the things that she is doing, and where she's been, and but Denise is she's got into doing what she's doing because of almost a near-death experience, and she had worked in corporate America, and some of the things that she has just gone through in her own life. And so she is an author. She has a book that she is currently a part of, an anthology. I'm sorry, anthology. And it is called Fearless Women Rock. And the anthology, what was the name of the anthology? Courageous Women Find Strength During the Storm.
Yes.
Fearless Women Rock, which was Dr. Missy Johnson, who is the breakthrough coach. She was the one that compiled all of this. And it was how many women?
It was 13 of us.
13
women.
Wow.
Yes, we all came together to tell the story of moving from being fearful to fearless.
Okay.
Having, as Dr. Missy would say, the story in our belly.
Okay.
And being too afraid to tell
it.
She gave us this platform and gave us all the courage to share our story.
Wow. And it is amazing. I read your story and some of the other stories of women that faced it, that some of them had cancer, breast cancer, and she's a breast cancer, Dr. Missy, breast cancer survivor, Denise, and some of the things that she had gone through. And so, if you can get her book. You can, we'll give you the website, or we'll give you her email address where you can reach out to her about her book. And her first book, when I first met her, which was Pen to Heart, and Heart to Pen. And this is a book of inspiration. So these are just some of the books. And so these are some of the things that I talk to you about. For those of you that have that gift, it is time, okay? It's time for you to begin to take the pen and put it to the paper.
That's right.
And begin to write your story. Begin to write some of those things that could be a blessing, if not to anybody else, other than yourself, to somebody out there that might need to hear your story. You never know who needs to hear your story.
And so everyone has one.
And everyone has a story.
Has a story.
That's right. We were here for a purpose. And during that time that we are here, trust me, we have had some things that we have had to face that we can put on paper. And it doesn't have to be a big book. It could be a small book.
That's right.
But it's just starting somewhere, and to allow other people to know some of the things that you've gone through. So we just thank God for all of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
Being a 3-time, this is
the third book.
The third book, right?
Third book, but this one took us to #1 bestseller.
Okay, all right. So we just thank God for you and your 3 books that you got out. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that at the beginning,
Okay.
going back to the beginning, being in this near-death experience, and you decided that it was time for you to live in your purpose. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the decision to walk away from corporate America.
So I feel as if just throughout my life, I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
But I knew that I had to support my family. I had to do what was necessary, to get through life. But it was always so hard fighting through that and wanting to be an entrepreneur, business owner. And I was tired.
Okay.
But I had gone through something in my personal life where I did have a near-death experience. I had to receive almost 10 units of blood. I had to have a blood transfusion. And I just felt that was God's opportunity to wake me up. I'll go back even further. I tell the story in the second book how there's a purpose for my life. My mom's tubes came untied after 9 years.
And that's how
And
you were
here
conceived.
here I am. So I know
God.
there's a purpose for me being here.
Wow.
And then, later in life when I had that experience, I won't go into a lot of detail about what happened, but I almost lost my life. Ended up having to have a blood transfusion to save me, and had to have emergency surgery.
Wow.
At that moment, I knew that it was time for me. I knew that not just these things, some of the other things that I've gone through in life, he was ready for me to share and use these experiences to inspire the lives of other people. But the thing that was for me was that I had to figure out that there was a purpose for my life. And so I vowed to spend the rest of my life speaking life into other people and helping them to recognize that there is a purpose for your life, whatever it is, but you need to recognize it and move in it. And so that's part of what got me, to that point. I was tired of trying to fit an entrepreneurial spirit into a corporate environment. My children were adults.
Right.
It was time for me to pursue what it was he purposed me for. And so as I still work through seeing, some of the things, because I do wear a few hats, but I still make sure that I try to stay focused in what I'm doing and whose life I'm going to impact with the things that I've experienced.
Right. And right now you're working with an agency that deals with young people.
Oh my goodness. So I work with an agency that deals with mental health.
Okay.
And in pursuing a certification is how I even became involved with it. But I woke up this morning, I have to tell you, and asked, because I've been going through a lot with this particular place, and I asked God, I know you won't put me where I'm not supposed to be. So I've got to rethink this. Lord, what is it that you want me to get from working in this capacity? And it hit me today. My passion for mental illness and of course suicide is phenomenal. It's through the roof. But working in the capacity with mental health right where I am, I get to see it.
Okay.
Understand a little more, because my organization, and we'll talk about it a little later, but my organization is about prevention, awareness and prevention.
Okay.
So working in this capacity has opened me up to understand more from different aspects, dealing with it from as far as the mental illness part goes at home, in the family or whatever is one thing, but to work in a different capacity where I'm involved with over 70, 80 people a day gives me a different outlook on it myself. And I am the number one cheerleader for awareness, but it just opened my eyes. And I had to realize that this morning. This is not about me. It's about what I asked him to do. I asked him to put me in position so that I learn everything that I need to learn so that I can continue to be a help to my community, to my family.
What are the age
So it varies. It could be, I think the youngest is maybe in his early 20s, and the oldest is 80.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not just you. Okay. All right.
So, and we'll talk a little more about the mental health piece, because that's basically what that's working with. But yeah, just feeling the need to live in my purpose.
Okay.
Understanding
That's
that
what
I
we're
have
here
one.
for. That's what we're here
And
for.
living in it.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And they know that I do that every week. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about everything that I try to bring to my the marketplace connection is really about people that are already doing something that I believe that can mirror some of the people that are out there that have a desire to do some of those things. And so it's really about purpose. That's what it's all
Right.
about. So
That's the bottom line.
you're right in line with what the what the mindset of this particular broadcast is all about. So you're an author, as I said, and a certified life coach.
Yes.
Using your coaching to help others realize that they have a purpose and to wake up to their vision. So you are certified in your life coaching.
Yes.
Okay. And so how long did that take you to get certified?
It didn't take long. I received my certification in under a year.
Okay.
Under a year, wasn't long.
Okay.
And there are a lot of different programs out here that you can become a life coach. I think the certification is not the hardest part or the lengthy part. It's working through and creating your programs and making sure that you're able to help. And there's a thin line between being a certified life coach and therapist and those type of things. So just knowing how to get in and stay in your lane without going against any rules or guidelines that are set. But I love it. Being able to, again, just helping people with the steps, some of the steps that I took, even the steps that I had to learn after the fact, but being able to put that in place to help those who cry for the same thing, who want to do the same thing, just help them realize it and kind of pull it out of them a little bit. And that's what I use my coaching for.
So you're coaching with your program that you have, and we'll talk a little bit about that. That's what you use your coaching in this your capacity the job that you have. Is that what you do?
So
they hired you to be the coach or life coach.
Not with the life coaching. So what I do, I am a peer support specialist.
Okay.
And because of, on the mental illness side, because of my story in the book, and you have to get the book to know what the story is about. But because of the story in the book, in order for me and the audience that I want to reach, I want them to know and feel that as a peer, someone who has been through not necessarily what you've gone through, but I've gone through something and I can relate to you.
Okay.
And in order to do that, you have to work in that capacity for so many days before you can even take the state test to be certified as peer support.
Okay.
And so I wanted to at least have that, so when I do approach my audiences, and I'm a speaker as well, so when I do speak to my audiences, they know that I've experienced not only the issue, but I've gone through, and now I am taking what I've gone through and being able to help you through some of those steps.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about bullying.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the reason is. The reason for bullying. Sometimes children may be acting out of anger, or a home situation that's unpleasant. So, give us, what your thoughts are on, why children either are victims of the bullying or the person that is actually performing the bullying. What are some of the reasons that you found that children actually become bullies?
So, bullying, first, I'm going to give a definition that I use when I talk to the
Go
kids.
ahead.
So, what is bullying? Bullying is the act of making threats, spreading rumors, bringing physical or verbal harm to other people.
Okay.
Or excluding someone from a group, because some of my audience are children. So I try to make sure that we know and understand. But bullying, even for adults, it's the same thing. It's when you're being cast out, when you're being talked about, those type of things, or using force even to get your point across or get your way, or to just kind of, it gets into the definition. It gets into what bullying, the signs of bullying. So let me say that bullying, when a lot of young people use social media.
That's
They use
cyberbullying.
cyberbullying.
Okay.
They use social media or any computer platforms.
Okay.
I call cyberbullying the igniter. I feel that a lot of people use the cyberbullying. That's where they have a lot of courage and they build those things up. And then when they're able to get to school or wherever it is, now they can go forth and kind of put forth all this macho that they've built up on the internet and created all this havoc on the internet. And now they act it out once they're in school or amongst their friends or, whatever the case may be. A lot of times bullying
now,
happens.
let me ask you a question right there. And it doesn't always mean that a child that's coming out of a home that necessarily has to be in a home where, the situation is not always, as it should be, unpleasant or broken homes and things like that. Because some of these, in fact, I put a video up on the internet a couple of weeks ago where this little girl was thrown off the bus and her father, I could hear, and in fact, they were even in another country. I think it was Australia or somewhere. And he made her walk to school, because I think she had been thrown off for 3 days. So to teach her a lesson.
Right.
Now, she had to walk about, I guess, 3 or 5 miles or something like that. And so I could tell that the parent, in speaking, that he was involved in the children's, in the daughter's life. So it wasn't like she came from a broken home or a bad home.
And a lot of times it has to do with self-esteem.
Okay.
A lot of times it could be issues that the child is having. And I was just going to say that to you. Sometimes it does come from the situations at home. Right. The kids are acting out because of what's happening in the home. The kids may be being bullied at home. In that situation, so it could be
among the siblings.
It could be among the siblings. It could be parents. It could be any situation at home. But it could also be in like the instance that you're talking about. There could be a situation where that child is being bullied by somebody else. And so they may not be able to deal with the person that's bullying them. So they take it out or do what they have to get attention.
Okay.
However they can. And if it's in the form of bullying, so be it. Because a lot of kids, they mimic what they see. That child may have seen that bullying got this person somewhere. Right. So maybe I'll try it.
Yeah. I got friends that follow me, that like me because I'm the bully. I'm the leader. And usually the bully is the leader. Right.
And a lot of times it's because of, again, self-esteem. It could be self-esteem issues. There could be a underlying cry. And that's the name of my organization is Can You Hear My Cry?
Okay.
There's an underlying cry for help. And if you think about it, maybe even in that situation, there may not be the relationship. The child may come from a good home, but there may not be that relationship where that child feels comfortable enough to talk to her parents about what's happening or anything that they're uncomfortable with.
That's true.
And so that's why in my program, I put some of the responsibility back on the parent. I put it back on even the friends. I put it back on the school system because there's a lot of places that the kids can get lost in, those gray areas that they can get lost in. And it goes back to how when we were younger, the term it takes a village to raise a child. Right. It still takes that village.
It sure does.
But in a society where it's more of the parents are working and and home less, and the kids are having to kind of defend for themselves to have more responsibility at home, where they can kind of get lost in those pockets of where they need the presence of the parents to be able to talk and share. Right. And with the way that the internet, the cell phones, I said that our children are going to have arthritis in thumbs and they're going to have problems with their neck and and posture. Right. Because that's all they do. I saw a child walking up the street, almost got hit by a car in the phone. You're not even paying attention to what's going on around you. I had another incident where I saw a couple kids. We were talking in one of the programs. So I told one of the kids to say something to one of the other kids. They sat there and texted to each other.
Are you serious?
So when I turned, because I didn't hear anything, I was working and I didn't hear anything, and I turned around. I said, "Well, are you gonna do what I just asked you to do?" And he said, "I did." I said, "I didn't hear you." He said, "I texted to her." No. But this is where they
lost the
are.
art of communication.
They do not know how to communicate. So think about it. So if we have the areas where kids don't know how to communicate anymore verbally, they don't know how to communicate anymore, and they rely on social media and the internet to do everything. So now we have the cyberbullying. We already have bullying happening in the schools, and the kids are not being taught how to cope. That is with the mental illness piece. That's with the bullying piece. Suicide is all about having coping skills, and that's not something that's being taught.
Okay. Now tell us what you mean by having.
So having coping skills when there's a situation happening, or if there's an emotion, or there's anything that's happening to you that is not normal for you, knowing the ways to deal with them and handle them, knowing how to get that cry for help, knowing how to tell someone, to be able to talk about it and find ways to help you deal with whatever that emotion, whatever that, that feeling that you're having. And if they don't have anywhere to direct it, if they're having these feelings and there's nothing set up in place to teach them that it's okay to have certain feelings, but this is how we deal with it. We have a plan in place to deal with this. They rely on their peers. And if a great percentage of their peers are bullies, either they're going to be bullied or they're going to be the bully. It's hard. It's so hard. We talk about, one of the things I was looking at when I did a little more research a couple days ago, every 7 minutes a child is being bullied. Could you imagine that? Every 7 minutes. If we don't help the children, part of what Can You Hear My Cry, my organization, I talk about awareness. Everything that I do is about awareness, because a lot of what we don't do or can't do as parents or a community is kind of based on sometimes what we don't know. If we don't know, we're not, and we're not aware, we don't know that there's a problem. We don't know how to fix it. So that's what I feel my job, my purpose is to make sure that I'm raising awareness that this thing is happening and how serious it is. We talked about, just before the show, I was telling you, I believe the youngest one that I know about that has committed suicide behind bullying was 8 years old. When we were 8 years old, we didn't know anything about, I didn't even know. We were still playing with jacks and playing with baby dolls.
Hopscotch.
8 years old, to be able to not only have the thought of killing yourself, but to go through with it at 8.
At 8 years, you haven't even lived long enough on the earth to even have a
issue that is that major. But for bullying, when you think about and you listen to the news about how deep bullying has gone, think about the one of the young ladies that had the incident in the bathroom where they beat the girl up and she hit her head on the sink. And so now these girls and boys are ganging up where there's not a whole lot of control. You would think that there's more control in the school system so that these things can't happen. But if the school systems aren't set up for zero tolerance, that's where they can take these.
Do they even teach it in the school system?
That's what I'm trying to get into the school system. So some systems do and some don't. And that's part of what I want Can You Hear My Cry is to have these type of programs set up. Some kids may not know that they're bullying. They may or may not know. But if we don't give them the information and we don't give them the help that they need, this will just continue to grow. We have to make them aware. Just like I said in one of the statements here, what part do you play? I asked that question to the parents because you have to pay attention to the signs, not only of the kids that are being bullied, but is your child the bully? And there are signs that you can pay attention to know that if you see a change in behavior in your child, there's something going on.
That's true.
You've got to be able to dig in and make sure that you're having that communication, because
Yeah.
it's easier for these kids today to shut down and not talk, because they'll just resort to the phone or
And
to
the parents
social
too.
media.
I mean, the kid wants to talk, and a lot of times the parents are
Mm-hmm.
they're just as busy on their cell phones
Right.
as the children.
Right. And so that's why I want to, the ultimate goal for Can You Hear My Cry is I want not only for the child that's being bullied to get help, but I want to
For the
peel
parents.
back not just the parents, but peel back the layers for the child that's being bullied. When you hear
Yeah.
about the programs, we're always hearing about helping the child that was bullied.
Right.
But if you're going to talk about prevention is peeling back the layers to the child that's bullying, because you can help the child that was bullied and get them together and
Right.
they're all
Right.
good, but you left the bully behind and he's doing it to now Sally,
Somebody else,
Susie.
yeah.
We've got to get help on
both
all
ends,
platforms for this, and then for the parents. So that's what I'm working on, having this platform be the place where the kids can go and feel like there's a safe haven. So if
Yeah.
we have the anonymous, the hotlines, but not just for the bully, because the bully wants to talk. Can you hear my cry? It's a cry for help. They want to talk, but they don't know how.
So you have a hotline.
I'm creating, so we're still working on
Okay.
building that, but that's what the ultimate goal is, to have a hotline,
Okay.
have
Just
a
like you
safe
do for
haven.
drug addicts and
Yes, a
gamblers.
safe, and it's
Okay.
out there. There are millions of organizations that have it, but I want it to be where it's so comfortable, because the kids don't want to feel as if they're snitching. So some of the kids in the groups may want to help, but if they do, they might
They
get
get,
bullied. So or the bully.
They're scared.
The bully may want help, but if he's put on this tough exterior, how's he gonna go and tell somebody he needs help? So I want it to be a safe haven. And again, there are organizations out here, they all have them, but I just want to find a way to make it just a little more comfortable for the kids. So part of what I want Can You Hear My Cry to do is to be made up of people within my organization, young people that can go back, that the young people relate to, because it still goes back to, with the kids, they don't want to take a whole lot of order and direction, and they may not feel comfortable talking to
an
adults.
adult.
But if I can put their peers
Okay.
in this organization, it makes it a little easier for them to talk and relate.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, the reason that I got started and became so passionate about the bullying is because when my daughter was in high school, one of her good friends was being bullied. She's a sweet, oh my goodness, sweet young lady. Didn't bother anybody. She was a good girl, but she was being bullied. She wasn't one who, was going to go off into trying to do this whole, overdoing it, protecting herself and that type of thing. But she was bullied so bad that she was afraid. She had been threatened, and I guess this was the last straw for her. And she tied a lock around her wrist because the girls threatened her and told her what they were going to do to her. She was scared and felt she had to protect herself. Well, she ended up beating the girl
With this lock around her.
badly.
Wow.
Out of fear. And she ends up with a felony on her record.
Wow.
Because of the damage she did. But
She didn't
she
tell
was
anybody.
and she was fearful though. Feeling like she had to protect her. And that passion for this bullying comes from that, and then seeing a situation where her younger sister went through the same thing, 4 years of high school. And that's why I'm so adamant about putting this back on everybody that has a piece of the pie in this. Everybody that's the village. Everybody's got to have their part. So I question, and I want to go deeper into the school system, because I feel like for her little sister, the school system failed her. They failed her. She went through so much. She was a straight A student. She was on, all types of sports.
Right.
All she wanted was her education. She shouldn't have to go because of the insecurities and the low self-esteem of the other girls. She shouldn't have to suffer. She had moments where, she had to be kicked out of school for defending herself. And she would say to her mom, "This is not what I come to school for." So I want to put back on the school districts, the teachers, law enforcement,
Yes.
where you're supposed to feel that you can go, and feel safe reporting the things, doing things the right way, but then nothing's being done. So a child still has to suffer being bullied following all the protocol. So we need to go through and we need to rethink how we're handling this with bullying, because there are so many lives. And now suicide is on the uprise now because of bullying.
Third leading cause of deaths for ages 12 to 18 years old. That's what some of the statistics that I got.
I got that same statistic, resulting in about 4,400 deaths per year, according to the CDC.
Wow.
And this information, I want to say, may have been from last year or the year before. So, and we know it's on the rise. I would have said that it's more prevalent in the high schools, but it's now starting to take that turn, and the kids are getting younger and younger.
Yes.
So now it's not just high school and middle school; it's elementary school. My program, I want to start from K through 12. I watched in my grandson's preschool class, just watching the behaviors of some of the kids.
Yeah.
They're bullying at 5.
I know. I mean, they come. Their tendencies is so, violent compared to kids that used to be years ago, and and they're aggressive, more aggressive now. They talk back, but they don't have the respect, And it's just like, what in the world happened?
And that's why I say for my organization, I'm slowly putting it together because I want to be strategic about how I do it. Because I want, for my board of directors, I want someone from the Board of Education. I want someone from law enforcement.
Yeah, that's what
I
was gonna say,
want
police
someone,
department,
you know what I mean? It's someone from each part of that community that affects the bullying that's happening. I want a psychiatrist and a psychologist on my board, because what I have to be careful with, I mentioned earlier about a lot of it can come from home too. I have to be careful not to overstep any boundaries with accusing anyone.
Probably need a social
worker. So defining what that is, because there's a thin line when it comes to telling a parent, you the reason that your child is bullying. You have to be careful with those things. And that's why I said I have to be strategic, because I don't have a degree in social work.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I want to make sure that if we have all the components, we can work together to put this program together to try and make sure that we're addressing all areas of it. Law enforcement. There are things today, especially watching, that girl go through what she went through for 4 years. There's things that I felt law enforcement failed her on. So the only way to get into that is I started writing my questions. I started writing, what plans certain school districts have in place. Some school districts, West Bloomfield has zero tolerance, and they don't have issue the way some of the other school systems do. So my job, my purpose is to find out what that is, how it's working, and how to get it in our inner city schools, how to get it, where we can help our kids and help teach them to respect the laws and the guidelines for zero tolerance.
And that's why I get involved in my grandchildren's lives. We have a room when they come over. I pick them up from school on Fridays. They get out early, so their parents are working. So that's my part in the village. And so we have a room that I have, and it is the situation room, or the conversation room, as I call it. And so we have pillows, and we sit on the floor, and we talk.
Right.
And I talk to them about a variety of different subjects. I want to know what's happening in their lives.
And they feel comfortable talking to you. That, Linda, that's the key right there. Because if you think about it, if what if your grandchildren didn't feel comfortable enough to talk to you or to open up to you?
Right.
Or to have a situation room where they know if everything else is going on out here, there is one place, one day a week that they can go and feel comfortable enough to open up and share what's happening to them. Every home doesn't have that.
Right.
Every environment is not the same. But if I feel in the school system, I know there are lines that we can't cross, but I believe that there should be curriculums set up for coping skills to teach them how to cope. We don't know some of the situations that the kids are dealing with at home, and they may need that. We need to we educate them. Why not educate them on how to deal? Because it's not just dealing with life at home. It's dealing with life, period. And we have to start as early as we possibly can.
That's right.
Teaching our children how to cope and to handle things. Because when they turn to social media and it's not being monitored, so that 8-year-old that killed herself may have saw how to do it on the internet. Who knows?
True.
There may be information,
On the internet. I mean,
that they have access to.
Yes.
So if you're
and not even that, some of these games that these kids play.
teaches them. Is one game I saw where the character is just falling off a building. He just walks to the end of the building and falls off, and that's the game.
That's it. So what is that?
And if
Suicide.
they see that repetitively,
they
keep seeing that.
It's okay.
They're kids. They don't know how to reason and understand at
I can
8
fall off a
years
building
old.
and I can survive.
So it goes back to, like you said, it's not that all homes are bad and, never to say that, but we still sometimes can get so caught up in our day and what we're doing and trying to provide.
Going to work. And
it can be overwhelming.
Yes, it can.
And so we may miss those signs.
Right. Absolutely.
If we do this as a community, if we do this as the village, and we live in a day and time too that you have to be careful. It's a lot more sensitive where, in our neighborhood growing up, if I got in trouble with Miss Virginia next door, first you can get in trouble with Miss Virginia next door, because today you can't do that.
Right.
You get in trouble next door, you know what's happening when I get home.
That's right, because they've already called your parents.
This is not that society anymore. We've gotten away from that, and it's so important to help our kids understand that it's okay to talk. That's one of the things. One of the key things. It's okay to talk.
Right.
It's okay to share. If there's something bothering you, you have to find a way to get that out.
Right.
These kids are too young and don't have the mechanism. Mentally, they're not developed enough to know how to process and work through a thing. At 8, she just learned how to tie her shoes. So I want to put into place those things that will help our kids learn how to share, know that it's okay to talk about what it is they're going through. And if it means trying to educate the parents as well, because some of the parents don't even like you said, the kid that had to be put off the bus, the parents didn't know their child was bullying. Didn't have a clue. Right. So we've got to be more aware at home of the signs.
And go to the parent-teachers meeting. Go and find out how your children are responding in class. If they're not answering questions, if they're sitting there, are they
because there are behaviors.
What is their behavioral
behaviors.
patterns?
Yes.
You have to get involved in knowing in every level of where your child is, what is happening with that child.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, give them your how they can get in touch with you, because we don't have a whole lot of time, and I do want to address a couple more things. So tell them how they can get in touch with you.
You can reach me at www.denisecochran.com or area code 678-984-6659. And again, Can You Hear My Cry is going to be a 501c3. It's going to encompass bullying, suicide, and mental illness. So The organization will, just be surrounded by making sure that we are aware, and for mental illness, removing the stigma. I would just believe that's so important. It's a lot of things that we don't do and we won't talk about because, again, we've been bred to not share when you're going through. Keep your business inside the house. And a lot of people have also been raised with that. If you need to see a therapist, there's something wrong with you. We don't do that. We need to do that. But those are just a few ways to get in touch with me. And Can You Hear My Cry will be up and coming very soon. But I'll be back with Miss Linda at a later date so we can talk about it and let you know when that gets launched officially.
Okay. All right. Now, there are certain groups that are now in schools. At the time when we were going to school, that we didn't deal with the LGBT youth. Even at a young age now, the LGBT is in the elementary schools now. And so I know some of the parents that, feel that their children, that they can, have the right, at that age. And, and I'm not going to really get into that. Right. They have a right to choose what gender they want to be. And the only thing about it is that they are being bullied as well. And a lot of times I don't think the parents really understand the dynamics of the fact that, yes, you allow your children to do that because you want to give them the freedom to be able to choose what gender they want to identify with. Right. But you don't think about this other piece, that there are people that are in the schools, or children that are in the schools, that are going to bully them because they're going to make fun of them because of the fact that they think that they're, strange or queer, because they're identifying with one gender and they are actually another gender. So, it just, you really have to think about, you're putting your children actually in a place where they could be harmed, killed, whatever the case may be, because of a decision that you allowed them to make. Actually, that's what you did. You allowed them to make that decision. And I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for bringing this up, but we have to deal with this. And so, so I just, want you to address that in dealing with this subject and dealing in this area that you're in. The LGBT youth now are really at risk as well.
And so when we talk about who has been being bullied, and you're right, it's open to kids who are disabled, which makes them feel socially isolated.
Okay.
And also LGBT.
Okay.
They get isolated. So the only thing that I can say when it goes back to the parents, and everyone parents differently. You still have to be in position, because I have to be careful with how I answer this. But you have to still put yourself in position. Like you said, as a parent, you want your kids to feel free, and you want them to be open, to whatever you feel their sexuality is. But you do have to take into consideration that for every action there's a reaction, there's a cause and effect.
That's right.
So it goes back to that question with us as parents. What part do we play? If you're going to allow those things, you can't just give them the freedom. You have to talk to them. You have to do your research and get your information and make them aware. It goes back to what I'm saying, that things that will happen, you have to be aware. You can't expect the kids to know and understand that now that they've chosen whatever sexual orientation, but then they come home and they've been beat up. You didn't explain that part to them.
Absolutely. That's the piece that I'm talking about.
You have to talk to your children. Whatever decision you make through your parenting and your understanding, you can't leave out the key pieces to this. You have to let them know. Yes. And it's devastating because kids, we always say kids are cruel. We've been saying that for years. And can you imagine now with some of the ammunition that the kids have today?
Yes.
Kids can be very cruel, and
Yep.
they are very outspoken today.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
very verbal. They're
Yes.
very physical. And
And
if
will
you
tell
don't,
you really the truth. I mean,
they tell you the truth,
Yeah.
but they have no filter.
Yes, no filter. That's it.
They have no filter.
That's right.
And it saddens me that just even as a society, we don't try and do more with helping. That goes back to the coping skills, Linda, is teaching them as parents what to expect, teaching them how to deal with their feelings and emotions. If they have all of them, you can't just ball them up and say, okay, some parents who don't want their children to be, to choose that way, there's a whole area that has to be dealt with that, because sometimes the parent would just throw the whole child away if they tell them that they have feelings about their sexuality and they don't understand. You can't sweep it under the rug. So that's
you might
what
have to deal with that.
that's what I call myself when it comes to the mental illness piece. And I said that, somewhere along the lines, folks won't be too happy with me because I've decided that I'm not going to be the person that sweeps anything else under the rug. Yeah. I call myself the rug remover. I'm pulling it back, and we gotta let it all out, because you have to deal with it. You have to talk about it. You can't hide it.
That's it.
It's too detrimental. We're losing our babies. We're losing our kids to things that they don't understand. They don't even know why. That 8-year-old, I could just imagine the conversation that parent may have wanted to have and may have asked the questions. Sometimes I don't like the question, what's wrong? But I feel that we need to find out more and create that platform, that level of comfort for our kids to not feel some type of way by telling us if something's wrong, if something's not right with them.
Well, and just before we get out of here, even we were talking about even adults being bullied, and men are being bullied too.
Yes, it's not gender
right.
specific.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right. And I have read, different, articles and things, where men have been in relationship with women. And with the women, or the woman would be the bully.
Yes.
And with
men are victims of domestic violence.
Yes, domestic violence, and older adults, seniors. That's another area where they have some of the family members that are taking care of them, taking their money.
Right.
And bullying them, telling them not to tell. So, I mean, it's just, yes, it's an epidemic with our youth right now, that and suicide, but it's also being done to our seniors.
That's right.
Yes, women, we know that, and men. So it's really across the board that you can find this bullying piece going on in our society. And sometimes it can be a person that might have a mental illness problem. That is the person that is doing the bullying, and we see all of these crazy videos that are going on the internet right now that's going viral because people, have a lot of hatred.
And don't know how to cope with their emotions. Right. There's no plan in place to teach them how to deal with the emotions that they're feeling. Or, like you said, with mental illness, because there's such the stigma that nobody wants it placed on them that they have a mental disorder. Mental disorder is not something to be ashamed of. But having and teaching people that it's okay.
Right.
Is where we are. You can't just have this thing and think that you can deal with it. Right. No. Right. You have to get help, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And that's why we didn't get a chance to talk much about suicide, but the mental illness piece, I really do want to come back and talk about the mental illness piece.
That is something that right now I think is on the rise as
well. It is.
Depression is on the rise as well. And I think with a lot of the clinics that have closed, that used to give medication to people that had mental illness problems now don't have a place to go.
Right.
And so it's just not people that you see that are out here on the street that want to be like that. A lot of them need medication.
That's right.
A lot of them just need intervention and need help. So we just thank you for being here and bringing such light to this bullying and coping piece. And I hope for you parents that out there that have young children that you've been having some issues or problems with, and you know that they might need some intervention. Denise, give them one more time your number and how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, that's my website is www.denisecochran.com, and my phone number is area code 678-984-6659.
All right. Well, we just thank God for you, our viewing and listening audience. I hope today that you have taken away something. I hope you've taken copious notes. You've written down her number. If you need to get in touch with her, please get in touch with her. And she can give you some directions on what you might need to do, where you might need to go. Even if she can't help you, there's other agencies I'm sure that she has information on that you can reach out and help your children. We have to help our children. We love our children. And yes, we are the village. It takes a village, but we're the village.
Right.
And so we just want you, to, like I said, reach out to her. And we hope that this has been a blessing to you today. I am just so excited about what is going on with the Marketplace Connection and all of the things that we have that are going to be coming, that is going to help you in just about every area I try to touch. So we are going to be on next week, and I think we're going to be talking about nonprofit organizations. So if you're interested in how to get into a nonprofit, we're going to bring the expert or the person that's going to be able to give you that information. Don't forget about my book, The Amen Sister. Again, it is a book for those women, I believe, around the world, to give you hope, encouragement, and empowerment, and to let you know that you're a winner and that you can walk into your purpose. If I did it, you can do it too. So we will see you again. Thank God for my sponsors again. Once again, Northland Chrysler Jeep at 8 Mile, 14100 8 Mile. See you guys next week, and be back with us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
This month, only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. Check out our amazing monthly specials. Drive off with your 2019 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4, only $179 a month. Or the 2019 Ram 1500 Bighorn, only $198 a month. The 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, only $199 a month. Or the 2019 Dodge Journey GT all-wheel drive, only $199 a month. That is only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram, only while stocks last. Terms and conditions apply. The Marketplace Connection, brought to you by the Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. You are listening to Worship Radio International, the world's #1 online Christian radio station. Check out our website at www.worshipradio.faith, or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Worship Radio INT. This is the future.